Daily Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
A News Hour tonight. People's Democratic Party and Labour Party to present 150 witnesses against Tinubu at tribunal. Again, gunmen killed 2 policemen in Juvenada in Imo State. President-elect Bola Tinubu returns to Nigeria 8 days to inauguration. And on the foreign scene, Congo security forces fired tear gas, clash with anti-government protesters over voter register irregularities. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Nten Ekpan with the details. Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and his Labour Party has announced plans to call not less than 100 witnesses to testify in their case before the Presidential Election Petitions Court. Their lawyers Chris Uchiesi and disclosed this at the resumed hearing before the PEPC on Saturday. Uchiesi said the anticipated 100 witnesses will include those already listed and those to be subpoenaed. Lawyer to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, said his client plans to call 2 witnesses with the president-elect. Bola Tinubu expected to call 39 in addition to those to be subpoenaed, while the All Progressives Congress, the APC, plans 25 witnesses in addition to those to be subpoenaed. The schedule of documents to be filed must be given to other parties before the hearing and calling of witnesses. Examination of experts and star witnesses was fixed for 20 minutes, while cross-examination by respondents was scheduled for 30 minutes. Now, re-examination was fixed at 5 minutes. And similarly, the Labour Party says it will be calling 50 witnesses to testify against the victory of the President-elect Bola Tinubu and will need 7 weeks to get this done. According to the party's counsel, Awa Kalu, who addressed the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal in Abuja on Saturday, the duration is because the forensic investigation of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, has yet to be carried out as directed by the court. Kalu also said they are waiting some documents requested for. INEC said it had 5 witnesses set to testify in the Labour Party's petition and proposed 7 days to get it done. The lead counsel of the commission, Abubakar Mahmood, however, disagreed that there should be a separate time for demonstration of electronic evidence. Roland Otaro, who is a counsel to the President-elect Bola Tinubu, and the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima, proposed 9 days to call their witnesses, excluding expert witnesses. The APC aligned with the submission of Tinubu and Shettima's counsel, adding that it will be presenting 7 witnesses for 9 days. Now, Justice Hamza Muazu of a High Court in Abuja has upheld the suspension of Julius Abure, the chairman of the Labour Party, and other individuals. Abure had announced his resumption as active national chairman of the Labour Party following the appeal by the party on the case restraining him from parading himself alongside 3 others as leaders of the party. But Friday's court's decision grants a stay execution order effectively preventing Abure, along with Clement Ojukwu, the National Organizing Secretary, and Oluchi Okpara, the National Treasurer, from assuming their positions as national officials of the Labour Party.
We were able to convince His Lordship that there is a cogent and pending appeal before the Court of Appeal. And in deference to the hierarchy of courts, His Lordship decided to stay the proceedings before him pending the application for stay at the Court of Appeal. That's all that happened. Nothing controversial, nothing untoward.
The trial judge also won because of the miscomprehension of his order that is out there, being given different interpretation from different quarters to suit their claim that his order restraining Abure, Farouk, the National Treasurer and the National Organizing Secretary of Labour Party from parading themselves as national officers of the party still remains. So the essence of this application for stay, the order for stay of proceedings today is to await the outcome of the intermediate court, which is the appeal court, on the matter.
My Lord, for asking the Senior Learned Council representing the other side, that is Abure and Co., that is my order still subsisting or not, and he answered in affirmative that the order still subsist, and so the court rule that his order still subsist until when set aside by the Court of Appeal.
The judge, for those of you that were inside the court, made it expressly clear, contrary to the false allegation or false rumor or false news they are parading out there, that the order of the court had been set aside, that is now the chairman. The court has made it clear today that the order he made on the 5th of May, restraining, the 5th of April rather, restraining Abure and 4 others, himself, the National Secretary, the National Organizing Secretary, the National Treasurer, that the order he endures, that the order he subsides. In other words, that the order he remain.
The Zamfara State Police Command has rescued 5 students of the Federal University of Gusau who were abducted in the state. Commissioner of Police in that state, Mohammed Bunu, in a statement said armed men suspected to be kidnappers invaded the house of one Isa Maybread in the Sabongari area of Damba village in Gusau local government area. Bunu, through the police public relations officer Yazid Abubakar, disclosed that the assailants collected 200,000 naira from the occupant of the home and proceeded to the students' apartment of the area and allegedly abducted 2 male students and 3 female students to an unknown destination. Bunu stated that the victims were taken to hospital for medical treatment and later reunited with their families, adding that efforts were in top gear to arrest the fleeing suspect. The police commissioner urged residents of the state to assist the police and other security agencies with timely and credible information that will restore peace and normalcy to the state. Now, troops of Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Hadarin Taji in its clearance operations have neutralized several armed bandits in the Shinkafi local government area of Zamfara State. The troops on Wednesday and Thursday conducted intense operations and cleared all bandits camps in Dambokolo, Malami Ila, and Malam Saleh, Kagara, Dangara, Fakai, and Manawa villages, all under the Shinkafi Council. According to a top military source who pleaded anonymity, serious gun battles were exchanged with the armed bandits during the operations, and several of them were neutralized, while others escaped with gunshot wounds to the mountains besides Fakai village. Weapons and military camouflage were also recovered from them. Now, during the operations, the troops equally recovered 3 AK-47 rifles, 2 magazines, 2 locally made guns, and pairs of military camouflage and uniforms. A motorcycle belonging to the terrorist was also burned. Gunmen on Saturday killed 2 policemen in Ngorpala Junction in Ngorpala local government area of Imo State. The gunmen, suspected to be members of the Eastern Security Network, ESN, the armed affiliates of the Indigenous Peoples of Biafra, IPOB, were said to have attacked the police personnel who were conducting a stop-and-search operation at a checkpoint in the area. 2 of the personnel, said to be attached to the Counter-Terrorism Unit CTU, were allegedly killed on the spot while the hoodlums ran away. This is coming 1 month after 5 policemen were equally killed at the same spot. A Daily Trust reporter in the state, Jude Ohuamana, gives an update.
Well, it's very, very strange because since March, killing of policemen exactly at that point has become a recurring decimal. And the police don't seem to have done anything about it. Each time they mount guard the point along that road, they always attack. And they've not provided any remedy. Just this morning, about 7 policemen at that very checkpoint were attacked by gunmen. The story is that 7 of them were gunned down, but the police confirmed only 2. I spoke with the police public relations officer, and he told me that only 2 officers were killed, and that the police are on the trail of the hoodlums, that they ran into the nearby bushes, and they were able to recover one of the operational vehicles, and one of the vehicles was stained with a lot of blood. We find that they must have been equally fatally wounded, and they are, combing the areas to make sure that they are apprehended. You can recall that just 21st of April last year, 5 policemen were killed at that spot. Equally, the preceding month of March, 5 members of the National Civil Defense Corps were also killed. So that becomes very, very embarrassing, not only to the police command, but also to the state government. That's the situation as it is right now. I don't know what the police are doing, because if your men are being killed at that same spot every month, I think the police should have found a remedy. But they appear to be complacent about it, going about as if nothing has happened. So that is the situation. The police appear to be helpless in this circumstance, because it is at that same point. And remember that at that same point, some few meters away, it's an army checkpoint, just by the road to the airport. So I don't know why that place has become a killing spot for policemen in Ngopala, precisely.
The police in Kano have arrested a 35-year-old woman who attempted to murder an 8-year daughter of her husband's best friend. Confirming the incident, the police public relations officer, DSP Abdullahi Kiwaya, disclosed that the victim is currently receiving treatment at the Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin reports.
Meet Fatima Usman, a 35-year-old mother of 9 and the latest lover in town. She suspects that her husband's best friend has been trying to convince him into marrying a second wife and try to take out his daughter for vengeance.
On our preliminary investigation, the woman confessed that she took a vengeance against a friend of her husband who has been advising her husband to get a second wife. That is why she took the daughter of the neighbor, who is a friend to the husband, and attacked her to take a revenge of the advice he has been given to her husband to get a second wife.
According to the police, the suspect dragged her victim into an uncompleted building. She then stabbed her with a sharp knife and fled to a nearby village in Dutse, the Jigawa state capital.
He went to the scene and discovered a young girl of about 8 years old with a cut on her neck, suspected to be a stab of knife, and also a knife stuck on her stomach. And after receiving the report, the Commissioner of Police, Kano State Command, CP Muhammad Hussein Gumel, immediately directed a team of policemen to rush the victim to the hospital. She was removed from the scene and rushed to Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital, where she was admitted. While recuperating at the hospital, she informed the police that she was attacked by a neighbor. Her name is Fatima, at Gadon Kaya quarters in Gwale local government area here in Kano State.
Usman Abubakar is the Fatima's husband, who denied any plan to marry a second wife. He told the police that his wife has recently been suffering from mental disorder. But his friend, whose daughter is currently in the hospital, argued otherwise. I know for sure within the last 2 years, my wife has been having some strange problem, like mental disorder or someone who's been possessed by evil spirit. She will be doing some things weird. If she dream of something, she will start believing that no, it happens in reality. Honestly, what she has been accusing me of has never existed. There is no point I advise her husband to marry additional wife. It's just her own accusation that I don't even know anything about it. And as for her being mad or having some mental disorientation, I have not known about it, and her husband is actually my best friend, so I don't know anything about that. While Fatima's victim continued to be treated,
Police in Kano say the suspect will be charged to court for attempted murder as soon as the investigation is completed. Idris Jubrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
The Zamfara State Police Command have rescued 5 students of the Federal University of Gusau who were abducted in the state. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Muhammad Bunu, in a statement said armed men suspected to be kidnappers invaded the house of one Isa Ibred in the Sabongari area of Dunbar village, Gusau local government area. Bunu, through the police public relations officer, Assistant Superintendent of Police Yazid Abubakar, disclosed that the assailant collected 200,000 from the occupants of the home and proceeded to the students' apartment of the area and allegedly abducted 2 male students and 3 female students to an unknown destination. Bunu stated that the victims were taken to the hospital for medical treatment and later reunited with their families. He added that efforts were in top gear to arrest the fleeing suspects. Police Commissioner urged residents of the state to assist the police and other security agencies with timely and credible information that will restore peace and normalcy to the area. The National President of Retired Army, Navy and Air Force Officers Association, Retired Major General Adewi Abdul Hafiz, says Nigeria can overcome security challenges if technology is deployed to contain criminal elements. The retired general said this at a press briefing in Kaduna, adding that though retired military officers have wealth of experience to contribute to national security, government must, however, look into their welfare after serving the country.
Nigeria has been battling with banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, cattle rustling, communal clashes and other criminal activities bedeviling the lives of the innocent citizens in the country. Having served in the military and gained experiences in managing security situations, these retired military officers are willing to offer their expertise in the fight against criminal elements in the country.
You need technology, you need so many things, and you need the will of our political leaders, the government itself. You cannot be at variance with what the government wants. So, as retired officers, what is our input in all that? Everybody has something to contribute because the experience is there.
According to them, fighting insurgency is a difficult situation to manage because the enemy has no specific identity and security operatives must respect rules of engagement.
It's one of the most difficult things to tackle what is happening, insurgency. It's very, very difficult because these are your own people. You now come out, you start killing your own people. I think it's no organization would like to do that. So it must be well thought out. There must be very, very good rules of engagement. What you call collateral damage should be minimal.
Fighting insurgency requires improved welfare for the serving and retired military officers. The association therefore appealed to government to consider welfare of military officers who are serving and retired very critical. Bella Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
The President-elect Bola Tinubu has returned to Nigeria 8 days to his inauguration as president. The incoming president returned to the country on Saturday after a week in Europe. His latest trip had raised eyebrows, with some reports saying he was battling an undisclosed ailment. But his spokesman, Tunde Rahman, had said he went abroad to rest ahead of his inauguration on May 29. While abroad, Tinubu met with Rabiu Kwankwaso, the presidential candidate of the New Nigerian People's Party, the NNPP, and former Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi. The meeting had generated tension, with some Kano APC chieftains threatening to withdraw support for the president-elect if he implements one of the decisions arrived at in France. Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano had also expressed reservations over the meeting, as was heard in a leaked audio conversation. But Ganduje was among the dignitaries who went to the Abuja airport to welcome Tinubu back home. Senate President Ahmed Lawan, Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima, and Godswill Akpabio, the anointed candidate for the President of the 10th Senate, were among those who welcomed Tinubu back home. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, has alerted the public of the alleged move by some governors and other politicians accused of corruption to flee the country ahead of the May 29 handover day. EFCC spokesman Wilson Wajiren raised the alarm in a statement issued on Friday night. The Commission said it is currently collaborating with its international partners to ensure that their plans are frustrated. The Commission vowed that all political actors involved in corruption while in public office must be brought to justice. Some elected members of the House of Representatives for the 10th National Assembly across the different political party platforms say they will field Speaker and Deputy Speaker candidates. The elected lawmakers agreed to present a consensus candidate which would challenge the candidates put forward by the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC. The decision was reached on Saturday after their meeting in Abuja with some speakership aspirants like Aliyu Batara, Yusuf Gagdi, Mariam Onoha, and others in attendance. This move appears to be in direct defiance of the zoning arrangement as announced by the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress, APC. The party organ zoned the Senate President to South-South, with Senator Godswill Akpabio for Akwa Ibom, Deputy Senate President to the Northwest with Senator Barau Jibrin from Kano. This has continued to spark controversy ahead of the inauguration of the 10th NAS in June. Others are Abbas Tajuddin representing Northwest for the Speaker of the House of Representatives and Ben Carlo from Southeast for the Deputy Speaker. A former Minister of National Planning, Dr. Samshuddin Usman, says despite initial misgivings about the National Youth Service Corps, the NYSC, the scheme has achieved its core objective of fostering national integration. Usman, who was among the first set of corps members, performed his mandatory one-year national service in the Old Cross River State in 1973. He said NYSC is an important national service that helped change the perception of Northerners in the South.
About a kilometer. One day I was coming back from town on my motorcycle. About a kilometer before the school, a villager stopped me. When I stopped, he said, "Are you the new teacher in St. Columbanus?" I said, "Yes, I am." "Is it true that you are a Hausa man?" I said, "Yes." "Is it true that you are a graduate?" I said, "Yes." Then he stretched his hand, he said, "You are welcome to our village." What happened there did not strike me until I kicked my motorcycle and proceeded. But along the way, it just hit me that I had helped to dispel a notion that this villager probably had, that Northerners did not go to school. Because he had today met with his own eye a Northerner who had not only gone to school but was a graduate in a village secondary school where only 3 of us, the teachers, were graduates. Myself, the principal who was a graduate of history, and the Reverend Father who was a graduate of divinity. Everybody else of the teachers was not a graduate. So you see, that helped to break a myth that Northerners didn't go to school. Because if you ask that man, I'm sure he told everybody that I have seen. If you tell him that Northerners, he'll say, yeah, it's not true. Because I have seen one that is a graduate. And that was one of the key, for me, objectives of NYSC. I'm sure many people from the South also came to the North with certain prejudices, which they found dispelled by the fact that they were there. And maybe the people, that they met helped them to dispel those misconceptions.
You're watching News Hour on Trust Television. Coming up after the break, why fertilizer should be available this farming season. Stay with us for these and more.
The Federal Ministry of Health, through the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, hereby announces the official launch of the Community-Based Health Research, Innovative Training and Services Program, CRISP, with the theme, Optimizing PHC Human Resources to Transform Primary Health Care. CRISP is a collaborative effort of the NPHCDA, teaching hospitals, federal medical centers, FMCs, states, local government areas, and development partners to improve the quality of primary healthcare service delivery in Nigeria. During the event, there will also be the launching of other critical policy guidelines, as well as presentation of state performance reports from the conducted National PHC Assessment. We heartily welcome the special guest of honor, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Professor Yemi Osibanjo, GCON, and primary healthcare stakeholders to the launch. Date, 22nd May 2023. The venue is now Congress Hall, Transcorp Hilton, Abuja. Time, 9 a.m. prompt. Dr. Faisal Shuaib, Executive Director and CEO, NPHCDA. Announcer.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Treated a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at England squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust Television. A recap of our top stories. People's Democratic Party and Labour Party to present 150 witnesses against Bola Tinubu at tribunal. Again, gunmen killed 2 policemen, injured another in Imo State. Moving on to other stories now, a group known as Stakeholder Democratic Network SDN, in collaboration with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and civil society groups in Rivers State, have organized a roundtable meeting to review the outcome of the elections in that state. The meeting is a result of reactions that have followed the outcome of the polls, especially the 25 February presidential election, which produced Bola Tinubu as the president-elect. The report.
Participant at the SDN election review meeting said despite the efforts of stakeholders to ensure a credible election, widespread reports indicate that the election process had serious challenges and irregularities.
My position is that the voters' register should be cleaned up because it is not a true reflection of the number of voters that we have in Nigeria. A number of those voters on the register are dead, and we are still counting as our total number of registered voters.
It is important for us to understand that as leaders and as citizens in our society, we must subject ourselves to scrutiny. Because if we fail to subject ourselves to such scrutiny, then democracy would always have its own issues.
This is not the first failure. The failure has been, and we're at a point in Nigeria where we cannot get it wrong anymore. We're at that point where we need a breakthrough. And that is why the frustration now is higher more than ever.
Public Affairs Officer of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Rivers State, Geraldine Ekulemu, said election in the country is a multi-stakeholder event, adding that there's need for every sector to be patriotic in order to have successful elections in Nigeria.
Electronic voting is a legislative matter. So that's why I said, hold the people who are representing you now accountable. Let them sponsor this bill.
Geraldine, while highlighting some of the lessons learned during the elections, urged Nigerians to hold elected political office holders accountable for full legislative implementation of electronic voting system in future elections.
But there were issues of network downtime that day. It is not INEC that controls that. There were issues of violence and ballot snatching and all that, and security issues. It is not INEC also that are directly involved with that.
At the end of the meeting, participants agreed that Nigeria's 2023 general election presented an opportunity to reflect on the country's democratic progress and the challenges that still need to be addressed.
The acting factional chairman of the Labour Party in Anambra State, Peter Okoye, has stated that the acting national chairman of the party, Lamidi Apapa, is not being sponsored by the president-elect Bola Tinubu or anybody for that matter. He made a statement in Awka on Saturday while briefing the factional state executives on the development at the national level. He said that Julius Abure remained suspended and the new national acting chairman is Apapa. According to him, the only thing Apapa is concerned about is strengthening of the management of the party. He said nobody is talking about the 400 million naira of which Abure diverted into his personal account. He also stated that the court had sacked Abure as the acting national chairman and he remained suspended until the Court of Appeal says otherwise. Okoye said the insinuation that Apapa is against Obi is unfounded, insisting that Apapa's interest is on the bad management of the party by Abure. The federal government has advised the striking resident doctors across the country to embrace more persuasion and social dialogue at the state levels in order to have their issues resolved. It also said the states cannot be compelled to domesticate the Medical Residency Training Fund (MRTF) and must not pay the same amounts being paid by the federal government. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, gave the advice during a meeting he held with the leadership of the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, and the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, where a memorandum of understanding was signed. The meeting, which started on Friday evening and ended on Saturday, had the president of NMA, Dr. Uche Ojime, and his counterpart from NARD, Dr. Emeka Orji, among other government officials in attendance. Giving an update on what transpired, the spokesman of the ministry, Olajide Oshundun, told journalists that the parties, the federal government, the NMA, and the NARD, had reached a truce in order to halt the 5-day nationwide warning strike of the resident doctors. According to him, all the 8 issues raised by the striking doctors have been addressed, adding that the fund for the payment of the 2023 Medical Residency Training Fund, MRTF, has been captured in the 2023 appropriation, and the payment will commence when the operation of the 2023 budget begins. The United Nations has warned that some 700,000 children are at risk of severe acute malnutrition in Nigeria. They added that up to 2 million children under the age of 5 are likely to face the most immediate and life-threatening form of malnutrition in Borno, Adamawa, Yobe, as reported by the news agency of Nigeria. Now, this comes as the UN appeals once again for $400 million to prevent widespread hunger and malnutrition in northeastern Nigeria. Associate spokesperson for the U.S. Secretary General Stephanie Tremblay said at the news conference at the UN headquarters in New York that the funding will allow humanitarian organizations to swiftly expand food and nutrition assistance and provide clean water and sanitation, healthcare, protection, and logistics. Tremblay said the UN needs the cash injection of funding accounts for less than 5% of what humanitarian organizations require to address the most urgent food and nutrition needs, citing that 700,000 children are at risk of severe acute malnutrition, which means they are 11 times more likely to die compared to well-nourished children. The UN urged public and private stakeholders to commit resources to address food insecurity in the country. Now, farmers in Gombe State have called on the incoming administration of the President-elect Bola Tinubu to provide fertilizer to boost food production in the country. This comes as farmers in Gombe and other northern states prepare for the 2023 rainy season farming. Ibrahim Ismail reports from Gombe.
As farmers get ready for the 2023 rainy season farming in Gombe State, the application of local plow is very common by these small-scale farmers who cannot afford the mechanized modern farming. Besides the non-availability of mechanized farming tools, the biggest challenge hindering the farmers from improved yield is lack of fertilizer, coupled with financial challenges caused by the current economic realities. We need different variety of fertilizer, and our security must be guaranteed in our farmlands because of the current security situation. We want the new government to help us with fertilizer. It is our biggest problem. When a bag costs 30,000 naira, then the purchasing power must reduce from 10 to 2 or 3 bags. The president-elect should make fertilizer available. This is the demand of farmers. This will earn him more support. Kabiru Umar, who prepares to plant maize, is uncertain of a bumper harvest because he cannot afford the price of fertilizer. His prayer is to get a helping hand from the incoming government. This farm is 6 plots. With fertilizer, you can get 8 bags of maize. But if you don't have fertilizer, it won't exceed 2 to 3 bags. Lack of fertilizer and other farm inputs tops the list of demands by many Nigerian farmers, whose hope is for government to provide subsidized fertilizer and other necessary inputs in time to enable them get bumper harvest. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
Our communities of Al Kalawa, Bissau and Bora in Batagarawa local government area of Katsina State are appealing to Sokoto Rima River Basin Development Authority to complete the earth dam in order to ease the activities of farmers. The earth dam, which was initiated and started 7 years ago, has been abandoned for reasons not made known to the public. Abdullahi Yamadi, who visited the dam site and interacted with some residents, brings us details in this report.
From the initial concept of the earth dam project, only a little over 30% was constructed before the contractor disappeared from the site. Residents here were not briefed about why the contractor had to abandon the project. Though some were compensated, there are more than 50 farmers who are yet to be compensated and are looking forward to not only collecting theirs, but to the completion of the earth dam project. This project, which has been abandoned for over 7 years, has disrupted all our activities. From the onset, we were given hope that when it is completed, our lives will change for the better. But unfortunately, nothing tangible was achieved. The dam as it is now, it is doing us more harm than good. If you can see that stream, which was dammed before now, over 2,000 people earned their livelihoods from the stream through irrigation. But now, nobody and nothing comes out of it because of the project. They admitted that the dam, when completed, will not only provide water for drinking and other domestic purposes, but will as well give residents access to all year-round farming. They argued that before the earth dam project, about 7 years ago, over 500 people were engaged in irrigation farming, but were unfortunately forced out as a result of the project, which they say may never see the light of the day. Trust TV, please forward our complaints to the relevant authorities to please ask the contractor, Sokoto Rima River Basin Development Authority, to come back to site and complete this work, at least, even if it means dredging only. These farmers, however, appeals to the Federal Minister of Water Resources, Sokoto Rima River Basin Development Authority, and the member representing Batagarawa Rimi Charanchi Federal Constituency to come to their aid. Observers say there are thousands of uncompleted federal government projects scattered across the 34 local government areas of Katsina, even when President Muhammadu Buhari hails from the state. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
You're watching News Hour on Trust Television. The news continues after this short break. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned. In business, Nigeria's central bank's digital currency, the e-Naira, is more than a year old, and the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has shared a belated birthday gift in the form of a research report evaluating its first-year performance. The IMF researchers called the e-Naira's debut year admirable, but offered more suggestions for improving its core mandate. The e-Naira was the second CBDC in the world after the Bahamas Sand Dollar, which premiered in October 2021. The paper concluded that the retail side was brokered by e-Naira, but those early adopters had not yet penetrated, so waiting times were not an issue. The Central Bank of Nigeria introduced a phased rollout that undermines the CBDC's two main goals, which are increasing financial inclusion for the unbanked and facilitating remittances, according to the IMF officials. Only about 1.5% of wallets are active each week, with just 802,000 total transactions during the study period. The figures represent less than 1% wallet and less than 1% of the bank accounts in the country that have wallets. And now for more business news, let's join Chiamaka Nwafor.
Nigerian workers living abroad remitted a staggering $19.8 billion back home in 2022, a slight increase from $19.3 billion in 2021. This was a 7% increase from the previous year, but still below the 2018 peak of $24 billion. This amount represents about 5% of the country's gross domestic product GDP and is a vital source of foreign exchange and income for many households. The figure obtained from Central Bank balance of payment data for 2022 highlights a significant recovery in remittance inflows and showcases the resilience of Nigerians despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. The main sources of remittances for Nigeria are the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Saudi Arabia, and other countries in Europe, Asia, and Africa. The Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, says its revenue rose by 16.9% to 2.06 billion naira in 2022 from 1.76 billion naira in 2021. The institute also said its net assets and net operating surplus rose by 7.3% and 4.9% to 6.66 billion naira and 837.94 million naira respectively in 2022. CIBN disclosed this on Saturday in its 2023 Annual General Meeting AGM in Lagos. Speaking at the event, the President Chairman of the Council, Ken Okpara, said the growth in the Institute's financial position was among other things due to its efficient utilization of resources. According to the National Treasurer, CIBN Mojisola Bakari Aseru, the Institute made an effort to digitize its operations to, among other things, create new revenue streams and new customer segments. And finally, in stocks, a total turnover of 3.029 billion shares worth 33.626 billion naira in 29,505 deals was traded this week by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry measured by volume-led activity chart, while the conglomerates industry and services industry followed in second and third place. Trading in the top three equities, namely Fidelity Bank PLC, Access Holdings PLC, and Transnational Corporation PLC, measured by volume, accounted for 1.328 billion shares worth 8.159 billion naira in 5,286 deals. The NGX All-Share Index and market capitalization depreciated by 0.05% to close the week at 52,187.93 and 28.417 trillion naira respectively. 44 equities appreciated in price during the week, with 27 depreciating while 85 remained unchanged. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafor.
Thank you, Chiamaka. Now moving to the forums. In Democratic Republic of Congo, security forces fired tear gas and fought running battles in the streets of the capital Kinshasa, with anti-government protesters demonstrating on Saturday over alleged irregularities in voter registration. The protesters are also angry over the rising cost of living and the prolonged insecurity in the east of the country, where armed militia and rebel groups have been carrying out attacks that have killed hundreds and displaced over 1 million. Around a dozen protesters were detained by security forces just after the start of the demonstration, which was called for by opposition leaders. Congo is due to hold a general election on December 20, in which President Felix is expected to seek a second term. But political tension is on the rise in the world's leading cobalt producer, with some opposition candidates complaining of delays and alleged irregularities in a voter registration drive that they say is being conducted to their disadvantage. Four opposition leaders, including Martin Fayulu, who came second in 2018 presidential election, and Moise Katumba, a millionaire businessman and former regional governor who is expected to run in 2023, called for the protest on Saturday. Now, airstrikes hit outside areas of the Sudanese capital Khartoum overnight and on Saturday morning as fighting that has trapped civilians in a humanitarian crisis and displaced more than 1 million entered its 6th week. The fighting between Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces has led to a collapse in law and order, with looting that both sides blame the others for. Stocks of food, cash and essentials are rapidly dwindling. Airstrikes were reported by eyewitnesses in southern Omdurman and northern Bahri, the two cities that lie across the Nile from Khartoum, forming Sudan's triple capital. Some of the strikes took place near the state's broadcaster in Omdurman, the eyewitnesses said. They also said that Khartoum situation was relatively calm, although sporadic gunshots could be heard. The conflict, which began on April 15, has displaced almost 1.1 million people internally and into neighboring countries. Some 705 people have been killed and at least 5,287 injured, according to the World Health Organization. Talks sponsored by the United States and Saudi Arabia in Jeddah have not been fruitful, and the two sides have accused each other of violating multiple ceasefire agreements. In sports, the stage is now set for an enthralling clash as Nigeria's under-20 team, the Flying Eagles, prepare to face the Dominican Republic in their opening game of the 2023 Under-20 FIFA World Cup. The highly anticipated match will take place at the Estadio Malvinas Argentinas in Mendoza, Argentina on Sunday, May 21. Nigeria will aim to start their campaign on a positive note and secure a victory to boost their chances of progressing to the next phase of the competition. On the other hand, the Dominican Republic will be eager to prove their mettle and potentially cause an upset in their debut appearance at the tournament. Now, Manchester City have been crowned Premier League champions for the third successive season after title rivals Arsenal lost at Nottingham Forest. The Gunners, top for the majority of the campaign, are 4 points behind City, with only one game left to play after being beaten 1-0 on Saturday. Pep Guardiola's side have won the title in 5 of the past 6 campaigns. They also have a chance to claim the treble, with the FA Cup and Champions League finals to come next month. Only Manchester United in 1998-1999 season have previously achieved that feat, and it is their derby rivals whom City will meet at Wembley on June 3 before facing Inter Milan a week later in Istanbul, where they will seek their first Champions League triumph. Now, before we go, here is a kicker. The Togolese government is launching the national strategy for universal access to drinking water and sanitation. The program, which will require an investment of 2.2 billion euros, will accelerate the achievements of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) in Togo by 2030. Take a look.
Je pense que l'État doit mettre en place des infrastructures pour permettre aux gens d'avoir de l'eau potable.
C'est une bonne initiative parce que il y a d'autres localités qui n'ont pas accès à l'eau potable. Mais si le gouvernement lance ce projet, c'est une bonne initiative. Comme ça, la population, toute la population aura accès à l'eau potable.
Sebab si Tomano moya mate anu agbel. Donc ici nanami agbel subo. Ye wona buburi chala nyibaji. Si Tomano moa mate atundo la nyibaji.
And with that, we have come to the end of Trust TV News Hour. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Nten Epang. Many thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.